Well, good day and welcome to you. It is September the 30th. And I hope wherever you happen to be, of course, you're having a wonderful day. Of course, you're not getting too wild out there and you're keeping healthy. You're staying safe and you're helping other people stay safe and keep healthy by doing what you need to do to help them stay safe and keep healthy. And if you don't know what I mean, hopefully you do. But if you don't know what I mean, try to read between the lines on that one. Now, if you're new to this channel, my name is Gary Willing. And here on this channel, we talk about the emergence of Maitreya and the Masters of Wisdom. We take a deeper look at why are the Masters coming back now? Why is it important that they do so at this particular time? And of course, what does their return mean for not only you, but everyone else? Now, I've painted what we talk about with very broad strokes, of course. You can get a lot more detailed information by doing some background research. You can do it a few different ways. You can either listen to some of the videos I put up, and you're, of course, welcome to listen to as many videos as I put up. But I do think the best way to get information, to find out if there's any truth to this for yourself, to educate yourself on this, whatever, by looking at some of the links that I provided in the description portion of this video. I do recommend starting out with the Share International website. The link is in the description of this video, and there you can find more information in one spot about Maitreya, about his emergence, of course about his priorities, about why peace is so important. Is it even possible to create peace? How to create peace if it is possible. He says it's through the principle of sharing, and you can even read more about the principle of sharing and what that is by going to the Share International website. So hopefully you'll take advantage of it. But there's also information on there too that I think adds a different dimension to this incredible story. You can see images of miracles that have been going on all around the world in all walks of life for decades, to people who have practiced religion and all the different religions, and those people who are not practicing any religion. And you can see if they've been going on. You can then Google it yourself and start to see if that's even true. But you can get images in videos, and you can even read articles that were published in major news magazines about these miracles and so forth. It's quite an incredible resource for you to look at. You can even read articles, the same articles that I read a lot on these videos, coming from one of these masters. And you can get a better sense of the ideas of these masters because you're reading something that's coming from them. So hopefully you'll take advantage of that too. But one thing I do want to say, if you go to the Share International website and look at some of the back issues of Share that were published over the decades, you can read letters to the editor coming from ordinary people about their experiences with Maitreya. Okay, I've had many experiences with Maitreya. You can even listen to some of my own personal experiences by going to the My Maitreya Experience playlist I have on this channel. But you can also, I said, read some of the ones that other people have written over the years, and they're quite extraordinary experiences. Some of the teachings that these masters are already starting to give out are life-changing. Some of the ones that he's told me in person have changed my life, and that's the reason why I share them with you, so it maybe change your life too. But even when I read some of the letters that other people have written in, there have been things that the master and Maitreya have tried to teach that person that when I started to apply it to my life really changed my life too. So hopefully you'll take advantage of it. You look at it. But it's one of the most incredible ways that these masters and Maitreya have started to make their approach to humanity. Now, eons and eons and eons ago, the masters were out, open, known for who they were, teaching humanity directly. Now, in the very near future, it's not going to be eons from now, maybe a few months, a few years from now, maybe, perhaps, these masters will again be out, known for who they are, teaching humanity directly. That's the whole point of their approach. But since then, their approach has been kind of slow, and over the centuries, their approach really, to get to this point, has been the men and women in the world who have made some kind of help and progress in humanity, in whatever area of life it is, whether it's the arts, music, the social sphere, architecture, science and discovery, to inventions, to health care, to economics, spiritual, religious, economic. I think I listed most of them, if not all of them. But anybody in all walks of life and in all areas of life that has made any kind of helped humanity make any kind of progress was helping, whether they knew it or not, with the approach of these masters back into the world. Now, here recently, the masters have already started to approach humanity more and more directly themselves. Some of them actually entered modern cities, like Maitreya entering London on July 19th, 1977. But, and it's kind of gotten to this point where, these miracles that they've helped create, like the healing waters, the crosses of light, were also a way of approaching humanity and creating that approach to humanity. But Maitreya now on TV, speaking in the way that he is also another way of them connecting with humanity and their approach to humanity. But one of the ways that they did it is through what's called a familiar. And that's when you read these letters to the editor, listen to my own experiences, it might give you a better sense of it. But Maitreya and these masters look the way they look wherever they are. Maitreya being in London, people have actually come and visited him in London. He's given talks in London for years. Journalists have come and visited him and met with him and so forth. World leaders have as well. But he can also be in London and create a thought form of a person in another part of the world and then talk to that person directly through this familiar. And this familiar could look like a man or a woman. It could be any race, any age. It could be dressed to the nines or looks so disheveled, looks like he's about to starve to death. And it just depends on how he's approaching the person. And every time I've seen Maitreya, he's looked differently, but I've recognized him as a familiar of Maitreya the times that I've met him. But here's the thing, okay, is the first 2 times I met Maitreya, I didn't know anything about this information. And so I remember the experience, but I didn't have a context in which to put it in. It didn't mean much to me other than it was just something kind of strange that happened. And it wasn't until I started to educate myself on this, and it wasn't until I started to read some of the letters from these other people about their experiences that it triggered a memory and 2 memories that I actually had prior to knowing anything about this information. So it might do the same thing for you. That's why I'm suggesting that you read some of these letters to these masters, because they've already approached and reconnected with millions upon millions of people. You could be in this situation. And then as Maitreya starts to become out known for who he is, especially after the Day of Declaration, and he starts to introduce these masters one by one, there's going to eventually be, 12-ish or so masters out working with humanity in the coming time. As that starts to happen, more and more people will start to remember their experiences that they had with these masters and will start to speak out about it. And they will remember it in the same way that I remembered it after, as they started to know more about it, started to put it into context. Oh my gosh, that's what that was. You know what I'm saying? So you might have had that same experience. So that's why I definitely recommend when you go to the Share International website, read some of these letters to the editor. It might trigger something. Now, the background image on this video says "so close now" and the little smiley face, and it looks like somebody took some chalk or pastel chalk and kind of wrote it on the sidewalk. And of course, you've probably seen, some kid or whatever drew little flowers or little sunshine or whatever, little clouds or whatever happens to be on the sidewalk, and it looks kind of cute and it's nice and it kind of brightens your day a little bit. But a friend of mine in California was walking down the sidewalk and saw this written on there, and she put 2 and 2 together, and she thinks that actually Maitreya wrote it. Whether he did or not, I don't know. I do believe it was Maitreya writing a message to her to give to everybody else. So close now. So many people are frustrated. They're so impatient about Maitreya because they haven't recognized him on TV, perhaps. And a lot of people have expressed their frustration to me because they can't recognize him on TV, right? But if it isn't Maitreya that wrote this, it is true. So close now. And I want to read an article written by Benjamin Creme's master. It's entitled "Men's Lives Will Flourish." Now, I do want to point out a couple things. One, the first paragraph, he talks about the stock market crash of 2009. From the world of agreement, or from humanity's perspective, the stock market crash of 2009 has already come and gone. But from the master's point of view, it's been a collapse that's been happening since the late 80s and will eventually collapse on its own. Now, there were times throughout history, and that was one of them, where the stock market could have gone all the way down to, and wiped everybody out. But it got propped back up again. And he even said at that time, if it doesn't go down on its own, that the stock market will go to even higher highs, which it did. And then presidents like Trump were like the rooster claiming credit for the dawn, of course, said that it was because of all their wonderful work and because of how great they are as a president and as a businessman that stock market went way up the way it did. It would have done it no matter who was in the Oval Office. As they, as the joking movie Hail to the Chimp, there could have been a chimpanzee sitting behind the behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office, and the stock market would have gone up to higher highs at the time that it did. But more and more experts are starting to sound the alarm that there is going to be a crash. Now, where this information might differ from them is the masters would agree the stock market is going to crash again, and it's going to crash probably pretty soon. Now, his master said, Benjamin Creme's master said that if it did go up to higher highs, because it would go up to higher highs, that when it does finally collapse, this will be the last time that it will do it. And the destruction economically, the pain and suffering for all of us is going to be even greater than it would have been if it had just collapsed on its own 11 or 12 years ago. But where they're going to differ from what the experts are saying, because the experts are already saying, well, how can you sustain your wealth and preserve your wealth? How can you maybe capitalize on this? That's what they're looking for. He talks about how people's greed and selfishness is going to try to bring it back to the way it was, to try to make money back, try to make the profit back or more, right? They're saying that what it's going to do is it's going to wake humanity up. Commercialization in the form that it is today is what's causing the destruction in the environment. It's destabilizing the political environment, the economic environment. It's why we're living in a world of plenty with plenty of food and people are dying of hunger every day. Why it's making it harder and harder for people to eke out a living, to pay for food. And yet there are a few select individuals like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, who are getting rich by the billions every single quarter of the year. Not even every year. It's like almost every month they're making $1 billion extra. And so it's creating this huge division and this disparity between the rich and the poor. And this stock market crash that's going to happen, whether it's this year or next year or the year after, is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back on commercialization and will wake humanity up and will bring us back to our senses. But here's the thing, okay? Maitreya said, and this is where I want to say this information really can help you, is people will get swept up in this fear of the uncertainty of the unknown when it happens. And you might find yourself in this too. I might even find myself into it too. I might lose my job just like you might lose your, I don't know. And be uncertain about the future. Don't know whether it's going to happen. But Maitreya says, all will be well. All manner of things will be well. And Ben's master writes about what's going to happen because of this stock market crash. And this is one of the articles that talks about it. So hopefully it will give you a greater sense of hope when it does happen. You won't get caught up into the fear, the uncertainty, the doubt, the conspiracy theories that are most certainly going to come with it. And look at it like, yes, we're going to get through this. And yes, we need to go through this because humanity is headed in the wrong direction. We're headed right off the cliff. And unless the stock market crashes, we're never going to wake up. So anyway, something to think about. Now, this article, like I said, is entitled Men's Lives Will First. And the other thing I want to say, he talks about the star in this. If you don't know anything about this, if you go to the Share International website, they talk about the star of Maitreya. One of the most incredible miracles that happened, but it happened for about a year right before Maitreya's first interview. And it was a bright luminary in the sky, a lot like the Star of Bethlehem, and it culminated with the Norwegian spiral. Don't know what that is? They talk about that, of course, on the Share International website too, so you can see that too. When men more fully realize the extent of the damage done to their lives by the economic and financial collapse of recent years, they will find it impossible to revert, as many hope will be the case, to the old system. That economy was shattered by greed, selfishness, and separation, but essentially by the action of the energies of the new time. Already, more than men are aware, the energies of Aquarius work their magic on Earth. Increasingly, people are being drawn together in consciousness. The energies of synthesis are performing their beneficent work. Already, many are responding in a new way, as if relived, of a deadening weight. Looking forward to a world simplified but more united. When we see this, we too are gratified and strengthened in our belief in the qualities of man. Our hope for the future is renewed as we see men search and respond to the new. The quote-unquote star has not been alone in changing the atmosphere of Earth from despair to hope, but is proving a potent factor in this transformation. More and more, the Aquarian energies will create in men the desire for unity and oneness, and even now are sowing the seeds of future transformation. Maitreya, meanwhile, waits patiently for the day on which his face may be seen by men. That day is not far off. Already arrangements are being made for his initial interview, the first of many such. Do not be surprised if reactions to his statements are quiet or subdued. Have no doubt that in future appearances Maitreya will speak loudly and boldly for the suffering poor of the world, for an ending of war, for a world in which justice and sharing enfold men in their beneficent grace. Much, very much is expected of Maitreya, but few can realize the vast extent of his generosity of spirit. People will come to know and love him as a friend and as a teacher, and will willingly respond to his words. Maitreya will evoke from men their own heart's love for justice, sharing, and peace, perennial jewels in the hearts of all men. Now comes the time of a further flowering of these divine attributes as men reconsider the faults and iniquities of the past. Under the guidance of Maitreya and his group, men's lives will flourish as never before, raising men from their past state of ignorance and fear into the expression of a divinity until now almost unknown. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.